Banks Boys Studios in Durham, North Carolina. So much sports going on around here in my area. North Carolina State, UNC, Duke, North Carolina Central. You got Campbell University in Bowie's Creek. You have Shaw University in Raleigh. You have so many schools just in this area that I want to cover those schools, but I have to talk about a little bit more than the local sports. Right now, as I speak, man, I'm watching, the Giants and the Cowboys. Right now, as I speak, man, the Giants just took a 10-7 lead on the Cowboys. The Cowboys have won 11 straight games. The only team to beat the Cowboys is the New York Giants in week 1, man. Odell Beckham just scored for the Giants. Hopefully, I will give you a final score for this contest before the end of the podcast. Also today in the NFL, the Carolina Panthers fans rejoice, because you get half off of Krispy Kreme donuts tomorrow because the Carolina Panthers won their game today, knocked off the San Diego Chargers and former NC State quarterback Phillip Rivers. The Panthers knocked off the Chargers today at Bank of America Stadium. It wasn't pretty. It surely wasn't as pretty as Cam Newton's post-game outfit, but the Panthers got the job done. They are now 5-8, still 3 games behind the NFC South leaders, Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but they have a chance. They're still mathematically, not eliminated for the playoffs, so they still have a chance. It's like when a girl tells you, when you ask a pretty girl out, and she says, well, not right now. I'm not really dating. So that's not a no. I still have a chance. So the Panthers still have a chance, but they have to win their remaining games. They have to go undefeated the rest of the way. They got 5 games left in the regular season. They have to win to all their games to make the playoffs. So the NFL right now is Poppington. The NBA is Poppington. I was just watching the Hornets and the Cavaliers play the other night. Braun went crazy, 44, 10, and 9. Could have had a triple-double if he wanted to, but man, Braun he's just Braun. He's playing out of this world. Russell Westbrook, watched that game the other night between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets. Westbrook, another triple-double. The NBA is Poppington, but it's all going to come down to the playoffs. So I'm not really going to talk about the NBA too much on the podcast in this upcoming weeks. When it gets closer to the playoffs, after the All-Star break, maybe I'll start talking about the NFL a little bit more. The NBA a little bit more. But right now, college football, it's that time of year, man. The regular season is done. All of the conference championships have been decided. The bowl games have been, they've sent their invitations out. The college football playoffs, the Final Four is set. Again, you got the Alabama Crimson Tide at number 1, the Clemson Tigers at number 2, the Ohio State Buckeyes at number 3, and the Washington Huskies at number 4. So those 4 teams compile the Final Four for the college football season, man. And Nick Saban does it again. All Alabama does, man, is win. They bludgeon teams to death. And Alabama's sitting pretty, man, undefeated. Headed into the Final Four. They're the number 1 seed. They are a complete team, all 3 phases, offensively, defensively, and special teams. Their quarterback, freshman Jalen Hurts, has not played like a freshman this season. Their defense is dripping in awesome sauce. Their defense, they're pretty good. A lot of NFL talent on that side of the ball, on the defense of Alabama. Their offense is good as well. Lane Kiffin has done an outstanding job with the Alabama offense, man. They just bludgeon teams to death. They beat the hell out of Florida in the SEC championship game. Kudos to Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide, man. They do it year in and year out. And at the number 2 position, you got the Clemson Tigers. They're right back in the same position that they were in last season. Super quarterback Deshaun Watson. I love Deshaun Watson, man. I think he's going to be a fantastic pro at the next level. They knocked off Virginia Tech in the ACC championship game. And Deshaun Watson, he is everything that you would want, that I would want in a quarterback, man. Outstanding feet, outstanding arm. He reads defenses. He's a great kid, great young man. Sky's the limit for Deshaun Watson. Now, Clemson defensively this season is not on the same level that they were last year. lost a lot of players to the NFL draft. They still do have a pretty good defense. Got a kid out of Wake Forest, man, Dexter Lawrence. Love that guy, man. #1 rated defensive tackle for the 2020 draft. But that's a little bit down the line. But Clemson's offense is crazy, man. Their running game, Wayne Gallman, the Wayne train, he's phenomenal. They have a staple of wide receivers, man. Mike Williams looks to be probably the #1 wide receiver taken in the upcoming NFL draft. Deion Kane. They have Artavis Scott at wide receiver, man. Their tight end, Jordan Leggett, great player, man. Clemson is stacked on the offensive side of the ball. And, I look for them, to play their Final Four game against Ohio State. I think that game is going to be pretty good. The #3 team, Ohio State Buckeyes, Urban Meyer, they snuck in, if you ask me, by the hair on their chin, and they're going to play Clemson, in their Final Four matchup. Ohio State has been kind of inconsistent, if you ask me, this season, man. Their offense has been up and down. I would have thought that JT Barrett would have had a better senior season. His senior season has been up and down. Although they only lost one game, it's not like Ohio State is horrible, but they didn't dominate all season like a lot of people thought they would. Defensively, they're really good. Near the top of the NCAA in takeaways, and they turned their takeaways into touchdowns. Several return interceptions for touchdowns this season for the Ohio State Buckeyes defense. So they're not a slouch, man. I'm not hating on Ohio State. If you're an Ohio State Buckeye fan, I'm not hating on the Buckeyes, man. I just, I don't see it, especially at #3, but I got to give them respect. They are in. So they're going to be taking on the Clemson Tigers. And I think that's going to be a pretty good matchup, man. Clemson's good. Ohio State's good. I think it's going to be a pretty good game. We'll see on December 31st how it plays out. And rounding out that top 4 is the Washington Huskies. And they're the surprise of the college football playoff, if you ask me. If you went into this season and you asked me who are going to be the top 4 teams to make it out, you wouldn't have Washington in that top 4, man. But Chris Peterson, he's done an outstanding job with that Huskies team, man. #1 scoring offense in the Pac-12, #1 scoring defense in the Pac-12, #1 on total defense in the Pac-12, and they've done it, with a pretty young roster. They have a sophomore quarterback, Jake Browning, played out of his mind this season, man. 42 touchdown passes. They have a dynamic playmaker at both wide receiver and running back, John Ross. Outstanding speed, man. World-class speed. 17 touchdown receptions, over 1,000 yards receiving. John Ross has elite speed. Their running back, Myles Gaskins, 10 touchdowns, over 1,300 yards rushing. I don't really get into statistics that much, but those two guys statistically near the top of their position, if not at the top in the Pac-12. And Washington's defense, again, #1 scoring defense, #1 on total defense. They've played phenomenal football all season. So you got those top 4 teams in the college football playoffs. December 31st, first matchup, the first semifinals is going to be at 3 p.m. The Washington Huskies taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And the second game is going to be at 7 p.m. The #2 team, Clemson Tigers, are going to be taking on #3, Ohio State. So December 31st, if you don't plan on going out to celebrate the new year, cook, enjoy your family, spend time with your family, watch football, man. You got football going on New Year's Eve. And, that's what I did last year. I had a little get together at the house. My wife, LaShawn, we had her cousin Scooter over. His wife had a couple friends over. My brother Damon, his wife, my good friend Gerald Robinson, his girlfriend. They were over. We cooked. We socialized. We watched football. We laughed. We had a good time, man. So if you don't plan on going out for New Year's Eve, you got college football action going on. The Final Four, again, is on December 31st. #1, Alabama taking on #4, Washington. #2, Clemson taking on #3, Ohio State. So those 4 games, those 2 games are going to be pretty good. So again, if you don't have plans for the New Year's, watch college football, enjoy yourselves, be safe. It's time for another commercial break. And my mouth is so dry, man. I don't know why my mouth is so dry on this episode of the All Things Sport Podcast, but good thing I have my Crystal Geyser Natural Alpine Spring Water. I need that check, Crystal Geyser. Let me take a sip of this water. We'll take a commercial break. We'll be back in a few seconds, actually a few minutes, on the All Things Sport Podcast on Spreaker Radio. Damian Banks here for Austin Davenport Construction. If you're a new homeowner, old homeowner, or whatever the case may be, if you need work done on your home, look no further than Austin Davenport Construction. Austin Davenport Construction offers services such as building and repairing foundations, brickwork, home repair, waterproofing. Whatever you need, chances are Austin Davenport Construction can hook you up. If you need backsplash in the kitchen, they got you. If you want to get the roof work done, they got you. If you want new tile in the kitchen, they got you. New tile in the bathroom, I'm pretty sure they can hook you up. So if you want to get your new home worked on, you want to get your old home worked on, whatever you need, Austin Davenport Construction has your back. To contact Austin Davenport Construction, call 919-697-6912 or 919-450-7517. Also, email austindavenport@gmail.com or go to the website austindavenport.com. Austin Davenport Construction. Get your home done right.
All Things Sport Podcast.
We go back like spinal cords and car seats.
With Damian Banks and Pierre Banks on Spreaker Radio.
Welcome back to the All Things Sport Podcast. I am your host, Damian Banks. Again, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Sports by Damian. You spelled that SportsByDamion. You know, I get a lot of people asking me, what's my Twitter and my Instagram handle, and I tell them, and then I don't see the follow. So it has to be that they're spelling my name wrong. So you spell my name Daimeon. So my Twitter handle and my Instagram handle at Sports by Damian. Thank you for following me. Also, you can go to the website banksboy.com, BANKSBOY.com. We have this podcast, all the other old podcasts, our YouTube channel, and my humble. I have a blog on there. Pierre has a blog on there. You can also follow Pierre on Instagram and Twitter in_my_humble. He's a great follow on Instagram and Twitter. Right now, Pierre's a little bit busy. Does the play-by-play for Appalachian State football. Also does the play-by-play for Appalachian State women's basketball. Now, Pierre's football duties will take him to the Camellia Bowl because the Appalachian State Mountaineers are going bowling. Most of the time, I don't mention the Appalachian State Mountaineers because they're in Boone. I'm in Durham, North Carolina. But I'm going to mention the Appalachian State Mountaineers, man, because Pierre is my brother from the same mother, and he's doing big things. The Appalachian State football team is also doing big things. They are winners of the Sun Belt Conference. They are going to the Camellia Bowl on December the 17th. Going to be taking on Toledo from the MAC Conference, man. Appalachian State had a outstanding football season, finished 9-3 overall, 7-1 in the Sun Belt Conference. They're going to be representing the Sun Belt Conference in the Camellia Bowl. Now, Appalachian State has made a successful transition from the FCS level to the FBS level. Appalachian State ran things at the FCS level for years. Three times in a row, champions at the FCS level. They transitioned to the FBS level, and it's been seamless. They have won a share of the Sun Belt Conference the last 2 years. Had a 10-win season last year. Have another opportunity to have a 10-win season this year. Appalachian State has a really good team this year, man. Really, really good team. Running back Jalen Moore, Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year, over 1,300 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns for the Mountaineers. He's a sophomore out of Shelby, North Carolina. Averaged over 113 yards rushing per game this season. Now, their other running back, Marcus Cox, he's just the all-time leading rusher in Appalachian State history. He was hurt most of the season, missed a lot of games. Cox still had almost 900 yards rushing, averaged over 106 yards rushing per game. The only two players in the Sun Belt Conference to average over 6 yards per carry. Appalachian State's rushing attack is second to none. The Mountaineers are really good, man. They have a pretty good quarterback, and their running game is what sets them apart. Defensively, number one scoring defense in the Sun Belt, number one in total defense in the Sun Belt for the Mountaineers. Scott Satterfield has done an outstanding job in Boone, man. They are winners of the Sun Belt Conference. Going to be taking on Toledo on December the 17th in the Camellia Bowl.